Welcome to today's RBB chat. I'm Carrie Gunther, Sales and Marketing here at RBB. Joining me today is Johnny Vanderford from Lorain County Community College. So BGA Rework can be costly to decide if you should do it, when you should do it, how to make it more efficient in the front end before you have the mistakes.
Oh, without a doubt. We're getting into process engineering, which is one of my favorite types of engineering, to be all honest. I love being able to run the machines, but I really like being able to optimize the machines for being able to run them without faults. So several ways that BGA Rework can just be completely avoided. Number one, making sure that your stencil on your stencil printer is clean. A lot of times, BGA pads are small. They're really small. They're very fine pitch. And if you don't have a clean stencil, that when you are processing on stencil printing, this can really wreck a lot of things really quickly. Where the holes can get clogged, the apertures can have something kind of contamination on the inside of them. And say for instance, you have a CPU BGA and you have 484 pin connections. If one of those pin connections is missing or wrong, the whole thing doesn't work. So quality control is really a big thing. Number two is material selection, making sure you're using the correct solder paste. There are some solder pastes that have very fine particles-based solder, such as T5 and T6-based solder paste. If you're using a large particle-sized solder paste like T4 or T3, you may be having problems that are just based on the size of the actual solder sphere particles on the inside of the solder paste. Number three, critical stencil print inspection. After our stencil printer right over there, we send every board from our Panasonic stencil printer into our Omron stencil print inspection system. And that stencil print inspection system performs a very specific task. It takes the time to look at every single pad. And if one of those pads hasn't been printed correctly from our stencil printer, we wash it off. We say, we don't want to process this. We don't want to deal with the hassles later on down the line of BGA Rework. So in the stencil printer, we can just wash off the board and try and fix the problem with the actual solder paste print right from the beginning. And then number four is awareness of how the chip is put down in the pick and place system. Whether it's being fed in by tape and reel or on a JetX tray, you want to make sure that the operators understand the criticality of the orientation of the chip. If that chip hasn't been processed correctly or hasn't been loaded into the machine correctly, you're bound to have a problem. Now, our pick and place system actually has a camera that when it picks up the part, it moves it over the camera, and it actually looks for two things, Carrie. Number one, it looks for the alignment mark on the BGA to figure out if the alignment mark is actually in the correct place before it puts down the BGA chip. And if that alignment mark isn't in the right place, it moves the BGA chip off to the side, and if it has to do that 3 times in a row, the yellow light comes on, flags someone that says, stop production, something is wrong. I see 3 things in a row that are wrong. I don't want to process anymore. Someone take a look at something. The other thing that our system actually does, which is unique, is that it actually has a 3D camera on the bottom. So when it scans the balls underneath the BGA chip, if one of those balls isn't got or doesn't have the correct shape to it, it will still move that chip down to the back because it's 484 pins on the chip. They all got to be right. So we want to make sure that it's perfect with that. Those are 4 ways that you can prevent BGA rework from happening with it. And you see, Carrie, it all starts on the front of the line. It all starts, all of it on the front before it ever gets the reflow, right? Once it gets over to reflow, you've got BGA problems after reflow. Well, you're going to have to run that BGA rework and you're in for a mess.
Great. Thanks so much for talking with us today, Johnny. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.